If we win, America will be respected, and even if it's necessary, feared again. It's not the worst word.
Ahead of Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden rally, some members of the Democratic Party were likening the event to that of the Nazis in 1939.
Please Google Madison Square Garden, February the 10th, 1939, and see what happened there. They are telling you exactly what they're going to do. They're telling you we're going to institute a fascist regime.
It was an absurd suggestion, and in part highlights the paradox at the heart of our national political debate.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
The absolute certainty that the country's condition is so fragile that victory for the other side will result in the end of America. In reality, the USA is in a position of relative strength, perhaps as great as it has been since the turn of the century. But will the next president acknowledge this opportunity, or heed the axis of revisionist powers looking to prove America's declinists right?
There are DPRK troops, in Russia.
Russia has spent almost 3 years mired in a war against a country that before the conflict had a quarter of its population and less than a tenth of its defense budget. And now North Korean troops have joined Vladimir Putin's fight.
This is an indication that he may be even in more trouble than most people realize.
America hasn't lost a soldier in Ukraine, but thanks to the fearsome capability of our materiel and the bravery of the Ukrainians, the once and never again Eurasian superpower has been brought to a standstill.
We have concluded the Israeli response to Iran's attack against Israel.
Israel, our only real ally in a region in which Americans have experienced devastating setbacks over 40 years, with its inestimable military girded with American weapons, is blowing away the paper tigers of the Islamic Republic of Iran's proxies and delivering body blows to Tehran's ambitions that it hasn't received in more than 3 decades.
If the regime in Iran were to make the mistake of beginning a new round of escalation, we will be obligated to respond.
China, now warily watching the ill fortunes of war of its two good friends, has so far exercised a little more military restraint in its quest for hegemony, and may yet try to make good on its bellicose threats of revanchism. What we can say with confidence is that the much vaunted economic miracle that was supposed to guarantee it would surpass the US in the first half of this century is, under the warmed-over Maoism of Xi Jinping, more of a mirage.
In this changing and turbulent world, countries need solidarity and coordination, not division or confrontation.
And then there's Europe. It got no attention in our solipsistic election campaign, but in September the EU produced a report documenting in stark detail how far the old continent has fallen behind the US in economic, technological and defense capability. Before that, from President Macron of France, a man who personifies his nation's innate superiority complex.
Nous devons être lucides.
We must be clear about the fact that our Europe today is mortal. It can die. It can die, and that depends solely on our choices. But these choices are to be taken now, because it's today that the question of peace, war on our continent, and our ability to ensure our security or not is at stake.
None of this, of course, is justification for complacency. That other countries, friends and foes alike, are in the mire doesn't magically dispel our own challenges. But it does suggest an unreality to so much of the debate that we have, an almost infantile predilection to invoke imagined terror.
If he were elected on day one, he's going to be sitting in the Oval Office working on his enemies list.
The two main takeaways of America's enduring superiority? First, let's commit to preserving and strengthening it. This means reinvesting in the free economy that's the core of our success, restraining the growth of government of the sort that's killing Europe, while dealing with our fiscal mess. We must continue to attract a strong flow of legal immigration while rigorously enforcing the border. And let's reaffirm our faith in the genius of the Constitution's arrangements rather than disparaging them. Second, we should be projecting much more strategic self-confidence.
Are you waiting on Putin to make the first move, sir?
The timidity that lay behind this administration's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan has been reflected in its efforts to restrain Israel from winning its existential war and depriving Ukraine of what it needs for a real shift in the balance of power against Russia. Even more so with North Korea's troop dispatch to Russia.
Why not greenlight the long-range missiles for Ukraine's use, which is Zelensky's number one ask, as you're sounding the alarm?
Well, for one thing, Jackie, we don't exactly know what these guys are going to do.
What else could
What would they be there for?
Don't think Mr. Trump is that much better. He may have correctly reoriented American policy towards China, but his weird affection for the tyrant there and in Moscow projects a similar lack of faith in our own system.
I will call Putin. I will call Zelensky. I said, we got to stop it. I'm going to try and get it done as president-elect. I don't have to wait till January 20th. I'm going to try and get it done sooner than that.
America will survive whatever happens in this election. But if we keep telling ourselves that we won't, we'll miss a vital opportunity to keep us safer and freer.